Hey everyone, welcome back to HomeBee's Beyond the Basics series. Today we're jumping right into a really smart swarm control technique called the Nucleus Method. If you're looking for a simple, pretty much stress-free way to handle swarms and, most importantly, keep your queen safe, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
So you might be asking, why this method over others I know? Well, let's look at it. You've got your traditional methods, like Pagden, which, let's be honest, can get complicated pretty fast. There's just a lot of room for things to go wrong. But the Nucleus Method? It's so much more straightforward. The whole idea is to just physically separate the queen from the colony's swarming instinct. And here is the absolute game changer. If, for whatever reason, the main hive messes up and fails to raise a new queen, no big deal. Your original queen is perfectly safe in her little nuke right next door. It's like the ultimate insurance policy for your colony.
All right, that brings us to our first phase, preparation and biology. Honestly, your success with this whole thing really starts right here. It all comes down to having the right gear on hand and, just as importantly, getting the timing right based on how the bees operate.
And you know what I love about this method? You don't need a ton of fancy equipment. Your whole toolkit is pretty simple. You'll need a 5-frame nucleus hive. I'm a big fan of the poly nukes myself, mainly because that insulation gives you fantastic thermal stability for raising brood. Then, you'll need 5 frames, either drawn comb or foundation is fine, and a dummy board to kind of tighten up the space. And that's it. Seriously, that's the whole list.
Okay, let's talk timing, because with swarm control, timing is everything. Take a look at this. A queen cell gets sealed up right around day 8. Now, here is the one rule you have to burn into your memory. The swarm usually takes off right after that first cell gets capped. This is exactly why we're all so militant about that 7-day inspection schedule. If you open up the hive and only see unsealed open queen cells, you're golden. You've caught it in time. But the second you see a sealed cell, that's your signal. It's go time, you have to act now.
So let's get into the action. Phase 2, execution. The great thing here is that all the heavy lifting happens on one single day. We'll call it day 1, the day you actually do the split. Time to put all that prep work to use. The split itself is really just 3 straightforward steps. It's super logical. First, we're going to set up our nucleus hive by moving the queen. Second, we'll beef up that nuke with some extra bees. And third, we need to manage the original hive to make sure it can raise a great new queen. Simple, right? Let's walk through each one.
Okay, step 1. First things first, you gotta find your queen. Once you've got her, you're gonna move her, still on her frame, right into the nucleus box. Ideally, that frame she's on should be packed with emerging brood. Then you want to give her a frame of food, honey and pollen. But listen up, because this next part is the most important thing you'll do today. You have to inspect the frame the queen is on with a fine-tooth comb. It absolutely, positively cannot have any queen cells on it. Not one.
All right, let's move on to step 2, which is all about reinforcing that little nuke. See, what's going to happen is a lot of the older forager bees that you just moved over, well, they're just going to fly right back to the original hive. It's what they do. So to make up for that, you need to grab 2 more frames of brood from the parent hive and gently shake the bees off of them right into the nucleus box. This floods the nuke with young nurse bees, and they're the ones who will stay put and take care of the queen.
Okay, now let's talk about the parent hive. With the queen gone, the colony's one and only job is to make a new one. So you have 2 jobs here. First action, action A, go through that entire hive and get rid of every single sealed queen cell you find. It's too late for them, we can't use them. Then, action B, you're going to look for frames that have nice, open queen cells with larvae in them. These are your candidates. Don't touch them. Just mark the top of those frames with a thumbtack or a pen. You're basically flagging the good stuff for what we're going to do next week.
And that brings us to phase 3, the critical follow-up. We're now 1 week later on day 7. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the single most important step in the entire process. What you do here, it's going to make or break the whole thing.
So, what is this critical step? It comes down to one golden rule. It's simple, it's not up for debate, and it's absolutely crucial. Are you ready? Select one queen cell and destroy all the others. So here's how you put that rule into practice. You're going to go back to those frames you marked with a pin last week. Remember those open cells? They should be sealed by now. Your task is to look at all of them and pick the absolute best one. You're looking for one that's big, nicely shaped, with that classic textured, peanut-like look. Once you've picked your champion, you have to go through and very carefully destroy every other queen cell in that hive. And be really gentle when you do this. Brush the bees out of the way, don't shake the frames. So why are we so hardcore about this one cell only rule? It's simple, really.
Leaving just one cell means you're guaranteed to get just one new queen. If you leave 2 or 3 or more, guess what happens? The first queen emerges, and she'll fly off with a chunk of the bees in a secondary swarm, what we call a cast. And that just defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing. I know it's tempting to leave a spare, just in case. Don't do it. You don't need to. Why? Because your real safety net is that original queen chilling out safely in her nucleus box.
And just like that, we're at the final phase. Patience and review. You've done all the hard work. Your part is pretty much over. Now it's time to step back and let the bees do their thing.
So, what's next? This is the hands-off part. For the next 2 weeks, so weeks 2 and 3 of this process, your job is to not open the parent hive. I mean it. Leave it alone. The virgin queen has to emerge, mature a bit, take her mating flights, and come back. If you go blundering in there, you could ruin everything. Then, in week 4, you can go in for a quick inspection. And what are you looking for? The beautiful sign of success, new eggs and tiny larvae. While all that's happening, don't forget about your nuke. Just pop in on it every so often to make sure they have enough food and everything looks okay.
Okay, so let's wrap up with a quick review of the pros and cons. The big pros, the logic is really simple to follow. Your queen is safe right from day 1, which is huge. And hey, you get a whole spare colony out of the deal. Not bad. On the flip side, the one major challenge is you absolutely have to find the queen to make this work. And there's a tiny risk of bees drifting between the 2 hives if you put them right next to each other, but that's usually manageable.
And there you have it, the Nucleus Method, a really straightforward, super effective way to handle swarming and keep your most valuable asset, your queen, safe. Thanks so much for joining us for this Home Bee Explainer. If you found this guide useful, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel for more beekeeping mastery. Your support really does help us keep creating more content just like this for you. Thanks again.